Hey guys, tonight we walk into a house where the fire's gone out, but the air is still warm. The snow outside is fresh, quiet, thick enough to muffle breath. And yet somehow it doesn't feel empty here. You'll see what I mean. We're heading into the frozen woods of rural Germany, where a quiet little farmstead called Hinterkaifeck once stood, tucked behind a grove of trees and a long-forgotten road. There are no streetlights, no neighbors in shouting distance, no reason to pass by unless you mean to go there. And someone meant to. 6 people lived there. None of them left. And tonight you're going to walk their last steps, maybe even before they did. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing at the edge of the woods now. It's not fully dark yet, but the sky has that dusky gray tint where shadows start to stretch their legs. There's snow at least 4 inches deep. Your boots crunch lightly across it as you move toward the path. You pass a crooked fence, sagging under the weight of the frost, and just beyond it, the shape of the farmhouse looms. You see it all at once. Main house, barn, tool shed, a small coop with a broken door hanging loose like a snapped jaw. No smoke from the chimney, no footprints at the gate, no birdsong, no barking, not even the wind, except one set of footprints. You crouch and look closer. A single track, made by sturdy, square-heeled boots, coming from the woods, moving toward the house. But no prints lead away. The snow fell last night, and these were made after. Fringe tidbit. According to historical records, when neighbors came to check on the family at Hinterkaifeck, they discovered just one set of tracks leading into the home through the forest, none leading out. You move toward the front door, slightly ajar, not kicked open, not forced, just cracked, as if someone left in a hurry or didn't bother closing it behind them. You push it open with a single finger. It groans. Inside, the air is thick, stale. There's a faint metallic tang you can't place yet. The front room is neat. Shoes aligned by the wall. A scarf draped over a peg. Pair of mittens, child-sized, still damp. On the table, a pot of cold soup and 6 spoons. You walk softly, not out of respect, but because it feels like someone might still be here. You pass the parlor. The lamp is cold. Curtains are drawn. The fireplace is burned down to its last ember, but the ash is warm. You pause. Someone lit this recently. Historical fact. The Hinterkaifeck murders occurred in March 1922. The family was found days later, and investigators believed the killer had remained in the house for several days after the crime, eating their food and feeding the animals. You move into the hallway, past creaking floorboards and wallpaper that peels like sunburn. There's something strange about how lived in it all feels, as if someone's just stepped out to grab kindling and will be back in a minute. But there's no sound. You step into the bedroom. The beds are made. Not perfectly, but enough that it looks like someone tried. Except for one. It's been slept in recently. The pillow is indented. There's a single long hair across the sheets. And the window above it, unlatched. Snow has crept inside, melting in a dark patch across the rug. You move toward the kitchen. The stove is cold, but the smell of meat lingers in the air. 6 plates sit in the drying rack. One is chipped. The knife beside it still has a fleck of something dark on the blade. And then you see it, just beneath the burnt-out oil lamp. A slip of paper, folded, creased, stained in the corner. You pick it up.
No envelope, no signature.
Just a few rough words scrawled in uneven black ink. Silence was agreed. It has not held. You read it again, and again, Then you turn it over. On the back, a symbol, a circle with a cross through the center. Nothing else. Historians still argue whether a note was ever found at Hinterkaifeck. Some reports say a piece of paper was recovered under a lamp. Others dismiss it as rumor, invented to deepen the mystery. But those who saw the crime scene spoke of small details that didn't make official records. You pocket the note. Outside, the snow begins again. Soft, steady, like it's trying to erase something. You close the door behind you, not because you think anyone's coming back, but because something tells you you shouldn't let it out. You step outside, back into the white hush. The snow has thickened, big, slow flakes drifting like ash from a fire no one remembers lighting. You stand on the porch, boots crunching slightly, and look toward the barn. Stares back at you. The kind of building that seems bigger on the inside, not because of magic, but because of memory. And tonight, memory is stretching wide across Hinterkaifeck. You walk slowly toward it, past the frozen pump, past the woodpile someone left half-stacked. The barn doors are shut, but not latched. The wind moans faintly between the boards, like someone telling a secret too close to your ear. You pause at the threshold. Your hand hovers on the door handle. Then you push it open. The scent hits first. Hay, iron, old wood, and something damp beneath it all. The air is colder here, but not empty. Something's been breathing in this space. Recently, you take a step inside. Your boots sink slightly into straw. The floor is uneven. In the middle of the barn, a crude wooden cart has been abandoned, half loaded with chopped logs. A lantern hangs from a nail in the beam above, long since burnt out. But the strangest part? The tools. Hung neatly, too neatly. Each blade gleams.
No rust, no dust.
Even the axe, long-handled, freshly oiled, rests perfectly straight on its hook, like someone just cleaned it, admired it, and left it for the next act. Historical fact. At the Hinterkaifeck scene, investigators found farm tools arranged meticulously inside the barn, despite evidence suggesting the family had been lured out and killed there one by one. You scan the rafters. Nothing. But you still feel like something's watching. You step further in. In the corner of the barn, a bale of hay has been pulled apart. The indentations left behind are unmistakable. Someone slept here. Not days ago, last night. The straw is still warm to the touch. And beside the makeshift bedding, a slice of hard bread. A small bone gnawed clean. Not animal. Too clean. Too quiet. You kneel slowly. There's a footprint near the edge of the straw pile. Smaller than the one outside. Different boots. Worn tread. Lighter step. You're not alone out here. Fringe tidbit. In 1935, a traveling laborer claimed he once spent a night in the Hinterkaifeck barn while passing through. He said he found a blanket, food, and a tiny knife tucked into the rafters. It felt like I wasn't the first, he'd said, and maybe not the last. You move to the back of the barn. A ladder leads to a loft. You climb. Each rung groans like it's debating whether to hold you. At the top, it's darker, colder. You have to duck under the crossbeams. There's a window on the far wall, small, round, cracked in one corner. It faces the house. Someone could watch from here. Someone did. You kneel by the window. The sill is dusty, except for one finger-width streak running through it. A finger dragged here recently. You follow it with your own. It leads to a wooden beam nearby. Carved into it, shallow but sharp. 6, then none. You run your finger over the letters. The groove is fresh. Splinters still curled inward like a wound not yet healed. And beside it, another mark. The same circle with a cross you found on the note. You're being watched, or tested, or maybe warned. You climb down the ladder more carefully now. Your ears catch something. Movement. Not behind you. Above. You look up. Nothing. But that doesn't mean no one's there. Historians still argue whether the killer hid in the barn before striking, or if they lived in it after, avoiding town, using the family's own home like a hollowed-out costume. Some say the murderer was never far, even during the search. You reach the barn doors again. One swings slightly in the wind, creaking rhythmically, like it's trying to keep time with your heart. You step outside and close them behind you. The snow's falling harder now, but still no other tracks. The single pair remains, the same boots, the same direction. You walk back toward the house, glancing over your shoulder. Still nothing, but the barn doesn't look empty anymore. It looks paused, like something inside it just held its breath. The farmhouse waits for you, quiet as breath held underwater. Snow gathers in little eddies along the windowsills, creeping into the corners like it's trying to listen in. You pause just outside the front door again, brushing the flakes from your sleeves, and look back over your shoulder. The barn is still closed. Still. But you can't shake the feeling it's listening. You push the front door open again and step inside. Same air. Same stillness. Except now, it feels aware of you. You close the door gently, sealing out the storm. Then your eyes adjust to the dim. You don't bother lighting a lamp this time. The light feels borrowed here, like it isn't yours to use. You walk deeper into the house. The kitchen again. The chairs pushed back unevenly. The pot on the stove cold and congealed. One spoon on the floor. You pick it up, still sticky with broth or something close to it. The dishes are clean, but not spotless, as if someone rinsed them quickly, just enough to say they tried. A child's cup sits off to the side, its rim chipped, faded cartoon printed along the side. One eye scratched off. You move into the hallway, boots by the door, all lined up in a row. 6 pairs. You count them twice just to be sure. Still 6. Historical fact. The Hinterkaifeck family consisted of 6 members, Andreas and Kazilia Gruber, their widowed daughter Victoria, her 2 children Kazilia and Joseph, and the maid Maria. All were found murdered in or around the house. You step into the bedrooms one by one. First room, Andreas and his wife. Twin beds, blanket folded halfway back on one. A Bible open on the nightstand, the page marked with a frayed black ribbon. The text is underlined, just one verse, circled in pencil. You lean in to read it, and they shall be turned into silence. You don't recognize the chapter or verse number. It's been erased. You move to the second room, Victoria's. Single bed, a little neater. A blouse hangs from a nail in the wall. There's a music box on the table. You open it. It doesn't play, but something clicks inside it when you turn the key. You tilt it and out falls a thin piece of cloth. Lace stained faintly. You smell it. Gunpowder. Not fresh, but not old either. You pocket it, unsure why. Fringe tidbit. Rumors long persisted that Victoria Gruber owned a gun. A small pistol kept hidden after her husband's death in World War I. No firearm was ever found on the property, though some believe it vanished in the aftermath of the murders. You step into the children's room. 2 beds. Tiny. One with a toy rabbit tucked under the blanket like it's still being held. The other bed is a mess. Blanket twisted, pillow on the floor. You kneel beside it. There's something under the mattress. You reach in. It's a crumpled drawing. Child's hand. Scribbled house. Scribbled trees. Scribbled red marks at the base of the barn. Little stick figures. Only 5. One off to the side, drawn in all black, arms too long. No face. You don't want to hold it anymore. You tuck it back. You move to the last room, the maid's quarters. Historical fact. Maria Baumgartner had only just started working at Hinterkaifeck the day before the murders. She was hired to replace the previous maid, who reportedly left the farm claiming it was haunted. The room is sparse. Trunk by the bed, partially unpacked. You flip the lid. Clothes still folded. A comb. A small book of poetry. A rosary with one broken bead. And beneath it all, a train ticket. Not from the day before, but dated 2 days after the murder. You stare at it. Did she buy it early, or was someone else planning to use it? Historians still argue whether Maria was killed with the others or arrived afterward and was caught in something bigger. Some theorize she never died at all, but was mistaken for someone else. You walk back into the hall. The rooms feel more crowded now. Not with people, with presence. Like the house has opened its mouth, and now it's breathing again. You pass the kitchen. That's when you see it. The note. The same one from before, beneath the lamp. Only now it's turned over. You swear you didn't do that. And something has been added beneath the circle with the cross. 2 more words, scratched into the paper in darker ink. Next silence. Your hand trembles slightly. You fold the paper, tuck it into your coat. The snow presses harder against the windows now, rattling the glass like it wants in. And you suddenly aren't so sure it hasn't already gotten in. You sit at the kitchen table. The chair creaks beneath you like it remembers the last person who sat here, and maybe isn't ready for someone new. The cold seeps in through the floorboards, curling around your ankles like a cat that doesn't like you but also won't leave. The note rests in front of you again, unfolded. Shouldn't be here. You tucked it into your coat. You check your pocket. Still there too. So now there are 2. Identical. Same handwriting. Same words. Same symbol. You turn them both over, comparing them. Not quite identical. One has a faint fingerprint in the lower corner. Thumb, probably. Smudged. Human. Very human. You press your own thumb beside it. Smaller than yours. And slanted. You wonder who wrote it, and why only one person was meant to read it. Fringe tidbit. In a later retelling of the Hinterkaifeck case, a local teenager claimed her uncle, who had visited the scene, spoke of a scrap of warning left on the kitchen table. The story never made it into official reports, and the note was said to have vanished by the time police arrived. You stand up and move toward the lamp. Same one. Cold. Bulb cracked. A twist of soot clings to the rim where flame once caught. You touch the edge. It's warm. That makes no sense. There's no power here anymore. No oil either. But the metal is warm. You touch the table. Cool. You touch the back of the chair. Cool. You touch the handle of the drawer just below the lamp. Warm. You open it. Inside, nestled in with a handful of dull spoons and frayed string, is another piece of folded paper. You unfold it slowly, your breath catching just a little. This one's older, brittle at the corners, but the handwriting's the same. The door never locked. The barn took them first. We agreed. The pact was made.
No signature.
Just a mark in the corner. A triangle inside a circle. You hold it up beside the first. Circle with cross. Circle with triangle. Something's progressing. Or unraveling. You turn back toward the table and jump. One of the chairs has moved. Not a lot, but enough. It's been pulled out slightly, like someone left in a hurry, or just sat down. You don't touch it. Instead, you walk out of the kitchen down the short hall toward the cellar door. The handle is iron, cold as a lie. You press it down and it clicks. The door swings open on a puff of earth breath. Musty, damp, alive in a way only basements can be. You descend. One step, then another, and then your boot hits something soft. You crouch, pull out your flashlight and click it on. A scarf. Red. child-sized, frayed at both ends. Dust covers it, but there's something else too. A dampness that hasn't frozen. That clings. You look toward the far wall. The bricks shift slightly in the beam of your light. Not physically, just in meaning, like they've heard something they wish they could forget. Historical fact. The cellar at Hinterkaifeck was largely undisturbed, but neighbors claimed the dog, kept tied outside, refused to go near it in the days leading up to the discovery. He howled at the doorway until someone moved him to the barn. You follow the wall, press lightly on one brick, then another. One gives, just a little. Behind it, hollow space. You widen the hole carefully, brick by brick. Inside, a cavity no bigger than a shoebox. And at the bottom, an envelope, wrapped in oilcloth. You pull it out gently, unwrap it, and there it is. Another note, this one typed, clean, formal, almost clinical. Subject no longer compliant. Observe for reemergence. If silence breaks, contain. And underneath that,
Elle, mars 1922.
the month of the murders. You read it again. The word contain sends a chill up your spine. This wasn't random. This wasn't rage. This was watched, planned, maintained. Historians still argue whether the murders at Hinterkaifeck were spontaneous or carefully orchestrated. Some theorists believe the killer remained for days not out of guilt, but to finish something unfinished. To ensure silence, you stand slowly. A soft creak comes from upstairs. Not the floor, not the house settling. A footstep. You shut the cavity gently, replace the bricks, and turn off your light. Back up the stairs. Careful. At the top, you listen. Nothing. But the lamp in the kitchen glows faintly now. Soft. Orange. Flickering. The bulb was cracked before. Now it burns like a candle behind glass. You step into the room. The table's empty. Both notes are gone. And on the chair back, a fresh set of muddy fingerprints. Child-sized. The kitchen is warmer now, but not in the way that makes you feel safe. No, this is the kind of warmth that doesn't belong. The kind you find in a room that should be empty. You stand still, watching the glow from the lamp ripple faintly against the walls like a heartbeat you can't hear but somehow feel. The notes are gone. Not tucked away. Not misplaced. Gone. You kneel and check under the table, under the chairs, inside the drawer again. Just spoons and dust. The envelope from the seller's message is still in your pocket. But the first two have vanished like they were never yours to find. Outside, the storm has shifted. The snow's falling heavier now, as if the sky is trying to bury something it can't speak aloud. You move through the hallway again, drawn now by instinct rather than logic. Past the coat pegs, past the single cracked mirror on the wall, warped enough to show you a version of your face you don't quite recognize. You stop at the back door. It leads out toward the woods, and the path you were told didn't exist. You open it. A gust of wind pushes past your shoulder like a warning. You step out into the snow, and there it is. Not a full path, just fragments. A boot print here, a snapped branch there, a shape half covered by drifting flakes that doesn't belong in a forest this quiet. You follow. Branches tug at your coat. The trees grow denser, the trunks closer together, narrowing into a funnel that leads you deeper, deeper into where no one claims to go. Then another clearing. Small, circular, too perfect to be natural. In the center, a stone, flat, round, carved with a familiar shape, the same circle with the cross through it. You kneel, brush snow away from the surface. More words etched beneath the symbol. We listened once. Now we wait. You hear nothing but the wind for a moment. Then barely audible a hum, low, vibrating through the soles of your boots. You stand quickly, scanning the woods. and see someone disappear between the trees, too fast to follow, too slow to be imagined. Fringe tidbit. In early versions of the Hinterkaifeck story, passed down in nearby villages, some locals spoke of a stone circle in the woods, a remnant of older times, a place where things weren't buried, but kept. Nothing official was ever found, but the legend lingered. You turn back toward the farmhouse. Except, the woods don't look the same now. The trees are thicker, the snow deeper, the sky dimmer. You retrace your steps, but your own footprints are fading faster than they should. Like the ground doesn't want them here. Then you find something ahead that shouldn't be there. Another path, shorter, but this one wasn't there before. You follow it without choosing to. Curves, then ends at the barn. The back of the barn. And on the wooden slats, scratched low, where the snow barely reaches, another message. It opened again.
No signature.
Just a smudge of soot beside it. You circle around to the front and notice something new. A rope, hanging loose from the hayloft above. It swings gently, but there's no wind here. Historical fact. One theory proposed that the Hinterkaifeck killer climbed into the barn via the hayloft, hiding in the rafters for days before striking. Some even claimed the murderer may have been living there before the family ever knew. You step inside. The warmth from earlier is gone. Now the air feels compressed, like something large is holding its breath behind every wall. You make your way to the back, retracing the steps to the makeshift bedding. It's been disturbed. The mug is gone, the bread replaced. Fresh crumbs scatter across the straw. And beside it, a new object, a child's mitten, wool, faded blue, thumb sewn awkwardly, as if repaired in a rush. You pick it up, still warm. You stand. A low creak behind you. You turn. No one there. But the door you entered through? Now closed. Historians still argue whether someone was staying on the farm between the time of the murders and the discovery of the bodies. The animals had been fed. Fires relit. Beds disturbed. But no one was ever seen entering or leaving. You step slowly back into the center of the barn. And look up. The rope from earlier now hangs completely still. Dead center. Above you, something glints from the loft above. A mirror shard, angled down, reflecting you, and something else too. Just behind you, you turn again. And this time you're not sure what you see, because it moves too fast, and leaves no sound behind. You stand frozen in the center of the barn. The hay beneath your boots no longer crunches. It just waits. The silence that follows the movement behind you is not empty. It's crowded. Like the air itself has stopped to look at you. You slowly step backward, glancing up at the hayloft again. That mirror shard, still angled just enough to show the top of your head, and the space behind you. Nothing there. But the kind of nothing that feels curated, intentional. You leave the barn. It's harder this time. The door resists just slightly. The hinges stiff in a way they weren't 5 minutes ago. Like the place is reluctant to let you go now that you've seen whatever it was you weren't supposed to. Outside, the wind has shifted. The sky churns in place, pale and heavy, and your eyes sting with cold. You look toward the house, and that's when you remember the hearth. You haven't checked the fireplace. You head inside again, snow trailing behind you like a tail. The living room feels warmer now, but only because you know what cold smells like. This warmth feels stale. A space heater from decades ago, humming behind invisible walls. You kneel in front of the hearth. The ashes are gray, fine, undisturbed, but the edges of the stone base, uneven. You run your fingers along the mortar line, pressing lightly. One of the stones wiggles. You work it loose. It takes a minute and more nerve than you're proud of. But eventually, It pops free with a gritty crack. Beneath it, a bundle, wrapped in oilcloth, stiff with age. You unfold it carefully. Inside coins, rusted, foreign, 2 iron keys, tied together with black thread, and a folded piece of paper, yellowed at the creases. You open it. It's not a letter. It's a drawing, childlike again. You squint. It's a house. Hinterkaifeck. From above, you recognize the layout, the barn, the main house, the tool shed, but there's something else on the page. A red X marked beneath the house. You turn the paper over. In the same uneven handwriting from before. He comes through the floor. You swallow. Fringe tidbit. One lesser-known theory suggests the killer accessed the home through hidden spaces beneath the floorboards, perhaps through a trapdoor or root cellar unknown to the family. There was no official record of such a structure, but children's drawings recovered from the farmhouse hinted at secret spaces under the house. You place the paper beside the keys, but don't pocket anything this time. Instead, you move back toward the kitchen. The cellar door still stands open. You descend again, slower this time. Every step feels like a question you're not ready to ask. At the bottom, the shadows stretch deeper now. You move toward the far wall again, brushing past the same bricks you opened earlier. But this time, your eyes scan the ground. The dirt floor looks undisturbed, mostly, until you notice a small patch of dust, scattered oddly, like something had been dragged, then set down gently. You kneel, press your hand to the floor, cold. Then you knock. A hollow thud answers. Your breath catches. You clear some dirt away, just enough to see the edge of wood. A hatch, small, square, the kind made to stay hidden. You hesitate. Historians still argue whether the Gruber family had knowledge of all the structural features of their own home. There were reports, unconfirmed, of a space used for storage or smuggling beneath the house, long before the murders. You reach for the edge, lift, it sticks, then gives with a slow, groaning whine. The smell is awful. Wet stone, metal, something sweet and wrong, like old fruit left behind a radiator. You shine your light down. Stairs, cut into dirt, uneven, crude, just wide enough for one person at a time. You descend. Your boots land on packed soil. You're in a room, no bigger than a closet. But on the wall, another drawing, etched directly into the dirt with a blunt object. Same house, same X. Only this time, another figure is added. A stick figure, upside down beneath the floor, with a red mark where the mouth should be. You hear something behind you. You turn fast. No one, just the open hatch above. Then, from behind the wall, a soft knock, 3 taps, then silence. You step closer to the wall. Raise your hand. Tap back. Nothing. You turn to leave, heart thudding. But the hatch? Closed. You stare at the closed hatch above you. It shouldn't have fallen shut. There was no sound, no click, no rush of air to pull it down. But there it is now, sealed as if it was never open in the first place. You reach up. Push. It doesn't budge. You try again. Still nothing. The soil walls feel like they're leaning in, like the room is breathing in reverse. Your flashlight flickers once, just enough to make you flinch, and when it steadies, the etching on the wall seems deeper, carved instead of scratched. You run your fingers over the lines and feel a strange vibration, almost like a pulse. You've had enough of this. You brace both arms and press against the hatch again. This time it opens. With a pop, almost reluctant. You climb out fast, taking the stairs 2 at a time. The cellar swallows the trapdoor like it's pretending it was never there. You don't close it. Let the house deal with it. You step back into the kitchen, brushing the dirt from your coat, your hair, your thoughts. Something in your chest feels pulled taut. like a string about to snap. You need to get out, get air. So you leave. You cross the snowy yard, back past the barn, the trees, and toward a winding track leading away from the farm. It curls westward, toward the old grain mill. You remember a story from the innkeeper in town, the one who mentioned a stranger asking questions there, a week too late. The path is barely visible now, but your boots know where to go. By the time you reach the mill, the sky has turned a bruised sort of violet, and the wind has started to whistle in long, thoughtful tones. You push open the door. Creaks like it's never been used by humans. Inside, shadows, sawdust, the distant echo of water turning a wheel long since retired. A man in overalls and a cap looks up from behind a cluttered desk. He doesn't smile. "Another one, huh?" he says. You pause. "Another what?" He shrugs. "Another ghost hunter, or cousin, or curious neighbor. You all come through eventually. I'm just trying to understand what happened," you say. He scratches the back of his neck. "Aren't we all?" You mention the family. Hinterkaifeck. His eyes narrow just a little. "Grubers," he says quietly. "They were good people. Strange, but decent. What do you remember?" "More than I should." He turns and pulls a ledger from the shelf behind him, blows the dust off, flips to a marked page. "Week of the storm," he mutters. "March." Then he points.
Talman.
Black coat. Came in asking about them. Wanted to know if Andreas was home. But what? The man looks at you. They were already dead. Historical fact. Several townspeople later reported interactions with a strange man asking about the Grubers in the days after the murders. Some as late as 3 days after the discovery of the bodies. None of these sightings were confirmed, and police dismissed them as misremembered timelines. You lean in. "What did he look like?" The man shrugs. "Nothing you'd remember, except the voice." "What about it?" Too calm, like he was reading lines. Fringe tidbit. One rumor claims the killer posed as a debt collector in town, asking subtly pointed questions that only made sense once the news broke. The local baker swore he sold bread to a man matching that description on the day after the family was believed to be murdered. You glance down at the ledger. Beside the note, a scribbled detail, "Paid in coin, foreign." You pull one of the rusted coins from your coat. His eyes widen. "Where'd you find that?" "Beneath the fireplace." "Then he was there, no doubt." He pushes the book toward you. "That coin's not German. Hungarian. From the war." You remember something now, the note in the cellar. The mention of containment. A subject no longer compliant. What was he doing here? The man shakes his head. "Not from here. That's all I know." Wrong kind of stillness about him. You pocket the coin again and thank him. As you turn to leave, he calls after you. "If you go back to the house." You pause in the doorway. "Don't listen if it calls to you." "What does that mean?" He looks out the window toward the white blind horizon. "Silence isn't always an absence," he says. "Sometimes it's waiting for a name. You don't ask him to explain. Some things you already understand." You step outside. Snow crunches underfoot. The wind has gone silent again. You look back once. The mill stands hunched and watchful, and the forest path beckons like an open question. You walk back toward the farmhouse, though calling it walking doesn't quite describe the feeling. It's more like being pulled, like a memory you didn't know was yours is leading you by the hand, whispering just out of reach. The wind has gone still, but the snow hasn't stopped. Now it falls in fine, determined flurries. You squint against it, every flake landing like a hush on your skin. The forest doesn't feel empty anymore. Feels like it's watching. By the time you return to Hinterkaifeck, the sky is beginning to lose its color. Everything looks etched in charcoal. You pause at the front door, then decide to take the long way around. To the attic. You circle behind the house and find the ladder bolted into the side, near where the roofline sags ever so slightly. You climb it rung by icy rung. The house doesn't groan under your weight. It accepts it, like it knew you'd be coming. You reach the attic window. It's been pried open, not broken, not forced, just nudged out of place by time, or something more deliberate. You slip inside. Immediately you feel it. The temperature drops by degrees. Not cold from wind, but cold from stillness. The kind that presses against your back and makes you wonder if you're still alone. The attic is cluttered. Stacks of crates, old furniture under dusty sheets, a crib with a broken leg. You step carefully, your boot falls muffled on the wooden planks. There's a fine layer of dust on everything, except one stretch of floor, where prints wind through like a lazy river. Not your prints. Barefoot, white set, too large. You follow them, to a corner where the roof slopes low and the wall meets the floor in a tight triangle. There, pressed against the wood, is a cushion, flattened, covered in old wool. Next to it, a pair of broken glasses and a tin box filled with matchsticks. Someone lived here. Historical fact. Police discovered signs that someone had been staying in the Gruber's attic. Food wrappers, disturbed dust, and an indentation where a person had likely lain for days. Yet no one saw the intruder enter or leave. You crouch low and reach for the cushion. There's something beneath it. A folded sheet of paper. Tears a little as you open it. It's another message, written with the same scratchy urgency as the first. They came out when called. The silence was stronger than the scream. Beneath it, a new symbol, a square within a circle.
No signature. No explanation.
You sit back on your heels, listening, not for sound, for change, and you hear it, a soft, rhythmic creak. Floorboards, not here, below. You crawl toward the attic window and peer down through the narrow slit between boards. You can see the kitchen table, and someone is sitting there, head bowed, shoulders hunched. Still, you blink, and they're gone. You scan the room again, empty. Was it you? A trick of angle and memory? You descend through the trapdoor into the upper hallway. You walk past the bedrooms again, noticing small changes. A coat button on the floor, a sock now draped over the chair, a cup left out where none had been. Someone's resetting the house, or undoing it. Fringe tidbit. A diary discovered in a nearby village decades later described a recurring nightmare about the Gruber home. It rearranges itself. The entry read, I clean one room and the next is undone. I fix the bed and the mirror breaks. You return to the kitchen and sit at the table. You're not sure how long you stay there. The quiet hum of the house grows louder with time. The wind taps once at the window, like a gentle knock from the outside world. Then, somewhere above you, a whisper, low, sharp, not words, but shape. It moves through the air like smoke curling into letters. You rise, not in fear, but in the strange calm of someone already submerged. You walk to the hall, then up the stairs, back into the attic, and there, where the cushion had been, something waits. Toy, not modern, wooden, carved, worn, a spinning top. You kneel, pick it up, and turn it over. A single letter carved into the bottom. L. You spin it once, watching it wobble unevenly on the warped floor. And for a moment, a single blink, you hear footsteps behind you. You don't turn around. Because this house, it doesn't chase you. It remembers you. And remembering is worse. You sit in the attic, watching the top slowly lose momentum, circling tighter and tighter until it collapses with a clink and rolls gently into your palm. You stare at the little L etched into its underside. The line so fine it must have been carved with a sewing needle or something sharper. Maybe something more personal. You slip the top into your pocket and stand. The attic creaks beneath you, not loudly, but rhythmically, like it's learning the sound of your steps. You descend again, but this time, instead of heading back to the kitchen or the cellar or the barn, you veer toward the writing desk in the far corner of the parlor. It's narrow, with brass knobs dulled by time. One drawer is open just a hair, the kind of imperfection that draws your eye whether you want to look or not. You pull it open. Inside, letters, stacked loosely, tied together with a frayed black ribbon. You untie them. The handwriting is blocky, rushed, uneven, as though written by someone whose hand wasn't entirely steady, or whose mind was moving faster than the ink could catch up. You read the first page. It's addressed to the mayor of the nearby town. Herr Bürgermeister, something is wrong with the land. The letter continues, fragmented and spiraling. Mentions of footsteps in the snow, of hearing voices in the attic, of seeing lights outside the window long after midnight, even when no one should be near. I have taken to sleeping with a scythe, it says. You swallow. Historical fact. Andreas Gruber reportedly expressed paranoia in the days before the murders. He told neighbors about noises in the attic and strange footprints, but most dismissed it as eccentricity or age. The next letter is shorter. The dog barks at the cellar now, and then, the animals do not eat when it watches. It's not clear what it is, but the letters begin to spiral. His words more fragmented, almost poetic in their madness. The silence wants shape. It's waiting for her to say yes. Which her? You read another, and the ink changes thicker, darker, as if someone wrote it by candlelight with shaking hands. This one is addressed to no one, just begins mid-thought. The pact was broken when she sang in the barn. A chill moves through your ribs, as if each word is dragging its own shadow behind it. Fringe tidbit. One undocumented legend passed through local oral history described Victoria Gruber singing to herself outside just days before the murders. A farmer's wife from a nearby village swore she heard it through the trees. A lullaby, off-key, not meant for a child. You tuck the bundle of letters into your coat, but one slips from the stack. It flutters to the ground, face up. A small sentence, scrawled without punctuation. He has no mouth, but he tells her. You fold it gently. The room feels tighter now, as if the very air doesn't trust you anymore. You walk through the house again, slower. Every creak of the floorboard beneath your boots feels like someone pressing their finger into your shoulder. Then you see it. The bedroom door, the one that leads to Victoria's room, ajar now. You know it was shut. You were here. You open it fully. The bed is rumpled again, but the mirror, cracked now. A new fracture right down the center, splitting your reflection in half. One side blurs your eyes, the other your mouth. You step closer, and your breath fogs the glass. Then, the fog moves. Not yours. Something behind the glass is breathing too. You step back, hard, knocking into the wardrobe behind you. Creaks open slightly, and tucked behind a bundle of blankets, something sticks out. You pull it free. Another letter, smaller, tied in twine. You untie it carefully. Inside 2 words, silence pact, and a symbol, a triangle inside a square, inside a circle. You've seen these evolve before. Circle, circle with cross, circle with triangle. Now this, something's progressing. We're closing in. Historians still argue whether the strange symbols found at the scene, if they existed at all, were part of a personal belief system, a local superstition, or something more cultic. None were officially documented, but recurring patterns in whispers and lore have persisted for decades. You fold the paper, almost reverently. There's something ceremonial about it now. You're not just reading messages. You're part of a conversation. A ritual, maybe. One that doesn't end with understanding, but with participation. You close the wardrobe, one slow hand on the wood. The mirror across the room has stopped fogging. You check your breath. Still visible. The room? Colder. Stiller. Like it's holding its breath. Waiting to see if you'll open one more door. And you do. The door you open doesn't creak. It groans. Not loudly. Not rudely. But with the kind of effort that suggests it's remembering how to open. You half expect it to shut again on its own the moment your back is turned. Inside, it's dark. Not pitch black. Just the heavy, sleepy kind of dark that feels padded. Like the air's been folded in layers. You step in slowly. It's a narrow room, not even wide enough to stretch your arms. The wallpaper is peeling at the edges. Little curls like old book pages. You flash your light along the walls and stop. Picture. Framed. Faded. Hung slightly crooked. You step closer. Family photo. The Grubers. 5 people stand clustered together in the foreground. Andreas, Victoria, Kazilia, little Joseph, and the maid, Maria. And behind them, a 6th figure, slightly out of focus, standing just beyond the barn door. Face obscured. Hatlo. Hands in pockets. Not posing. Just there. Watching. You lean in, squinting. The man is tall. His coat is strange, too long even by the fashion of the 1920s. There's something off about the way he holds himself, like he was caught in motion but not moving. You flip the photo over. No date. No label. Just one phrase in faded pencil. War immer dort. He was always there. Historical fact, no known photograph of the Gruber family included a 6th, unidentified person, but some records mention a neighbor who recalled a tall man lingering during a family photo session one summer. This person was not a relative. You shine your light around the room. It's empty, except for a stool in the corner and a bundle of papers stacked in a dusty tray. You step over. Letters again, but not written by Andreas. These are older, dated 2 years before the murders. Typed, neat, almost clinical. You skim the first page. Subject exhibits nightly paranoia. Refuses sleep on alternating days. Family unaware of extended absences. You frown. Subject, extended absences? You flip to the next sheet. Daughter displays detachment. Ritual behavior, including singing to empty barn. Youngest child silent during observations. Another page. Note. Presence still visible. Triangle marked above doorframe remains intact. What is this? Observation records? You pick up the last page. It's blank, until you tilt it under the light. Then, faintly, you see an imprint. Someone wrote on the page above this one once, and the pressure left a trace. You take a pencil from the table, shade lightly across the surface. Words emerge. He waits for silence. He is already inside. You look up, suddenly aware that the ceiling above you, directly above, is the attic. The room begins to feel too narrow. You turn to leave, and pause at the doorframe. There, etched above it, a faint, shallow triangle. It matches the note, and next to it, a smudge of something dark, like soot or ash. You run your fingers across it. Still damp, still warm. Fringe tidbit. One rarely discussed theory claimed there were chalk markings found above the doors inside Hinterkaifeck, triangles and slashes, later attributed to blessing symbols. But no priest had been to the house in months. You step back into the hallway and notice something else. The air is thicker, like someone's been smoking a pipe. But there's no smell, just the texture of breath that isn't yours. You move through the hall again, now hyper-aware of how quiet the house has become. Not empty, just charged. You return to the parlor. The photo is still in your hand. You set it down on the desk, but not before you look once more. And this time, there are 7 people. You don't remember seeing 7 before, but now, there they are, 6 in front, and 2 in the back. 1 behind the barn door, 1 beside the window, barely visible, just a glint of white, like teeth or reflected light. Historians still argue whether the Hinterkaifeck family was being observed before the murders. Some believe the killer may have photographed them in secret, leaving behind distorted, doctored images intended only for himself. You turn the photo face down. You don't want to see it again. As you do, something under the desk shifts. Not loudly, just a soft click. You kneel. There's a hidden panel. You pry it open. Inside a tin box. You open it. Inside one item, a single key, attached to a tag. Hinterkaifeck, room 0. There is no room 0. At least, there isn't yet. But now you're sure. There was always someone else here. And maybe, still is. You hold the key like it might bite you. It's lighter than it looks, but there's something heavy about the way it sits in your palm. The label, room 0, feels like the kind of thing someone makes up when they don't want a place to be found but need it to exist. You stare at the house around you. You've walked every hallway, every room. There is no room 0, unless it's not a room at all, unless it's a decision. You pocket the key and step back into the hall. You don't know where to go next until you remember what the miller said. Don't listen if it calls to you. So naturally, now that you're trying not to listen, you hear it. Just once. A knock. Soft. From behind. You spin. It's the front door. You walk toward it slowly, each step deliberate, each breath shallow. You open it. No one. Just snow. Thicker now. Softer. Falling straight down like it's tired of drifting. You close the door and turn, and jump. Someone is standing in the hallway. You blink, and they're gone. But the door to Victoria's room? Now closed, and you know it was open. You take a breath and walk slowly down the hall, hand brushing the wallpaper like it might offer a second opinion. You pause at the door, place your hand on the knob, and knock once, just to be polite. The doorknob turns on its own. It opens a few inches, then stops. You push gently. The room is dark, but you hear breathing. You step inside. The mirror is whole again. You stare into it. This time, your reflection stares back exactly as it should. Only your eyes are wrong. Too dark. Too still. Fringe tidbit. A surviving niece of the Gruber family later said that as a child, she refused to look into mirrors in the farmhouse. They didn't show me, she said. They showed what wanted to be me. You leave the room. This time, quickly. You descend the stairs. And that's when you remember something. The neighbor, the one who found the bodies, he claimed he heard something that night. Not screams. Not cries. A knock. Just one. And when he opened his door to check, nothing but fog and hoofprints. Historical fact. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, a neighbor of the Gruber family, was one of the first to discover the bodies. He later claimed to have seen strange tracks and heard unexplained sounds days before. You move to the front door again. You hesitate, then you open it wide. Step outside. The wind has stopped, but in the snow just outside the porch, footprints, 2 sets, side by side, leading toward the forest. Not away from it. You follow. The snow isn't as deep as before, like something's tamped it down. The tracks lead you back to the edge of the trees. And there, almost invisible in the gloom, is a small figure. A girl, standing still. Too still. You step closer. She doesn't move. You speak. No answer. You blink. She's gone. Fringe detail. A woman in the 1970s claimed, as a girl, she wandered near the Hinterkaifeck property shortly after the murders. She remembered seeing a girl near the trees, dressed in white. She looked like me, she said. She was mouthing something, but there was no sound. You turn back toward the house, but you don't walk back to the front door. You circle around the side, toward the cellar entrance. It's closed now. You didn't close it. You reach for the key, the one labeled Room 0. You try it in the old iron lock on the cellar doors. Turns. Not easily, but with a thick, grinding kind of finality. The doors open, and there, half covered by snow and dust, is another entrance. Not to the cellar, to something beneath it. A trapdoor you never noticed before. You lift it. Inside, stairs. Old stone. Not wood. You descend slowly, the key still in your hand. And part of you knows you aren't unlocking anything new. You're opening something that was waiting. Down below, the room is small, square, perfect, and carved into each wall, a symbol. Circle, circle with cross, triangle, triangle inside square. All 4 walls marked. The air doesn't move here. Your breath fogs, but there's no cold. Just compression, like the room is holding you. And in the center, a chair. And beside it, a note, typed, familiar font. Room 0 is not found. It is remembered. If they knock, you will answer. If they speak, you must not echo. And on the floorboards, this is not where it happened. This is where it kept happening. You look back up the stairs, but no light is coming through. Just darkness, like someone's closed the door behind you. Again. You stand in the room beneath the cellar, Room 0, if the key and the walls and the air pressing against your ribs are telling the truth. The walls don't breathe. They absorb. You feel like you've stepped into something preserved rather than abandoned. You shine your light along the floor. It's not stone like the stairs. It's wood. Old. Splintered. Scored with what looks like tiny claw marks. You crouch down, running your hand along the floorboards. One shifts under your palm. You press harder. It lifts. Beneath it, not soil, not stone, paper, stacks of it, all wrapped in faded linen. You pull out the top bundle and unravel it. More reports, typed, organized, stamped in red.
Für Archiv nicht öffnen.
For archive, do not open. You do anyway. The first page is a profile. Not of Andreas. Not Victoria. Not anyone you've heard of. A stranger. Male. Age unknown.
No photograph. No hometown.
Only an ID.
El.
No last name. The report lists dates. 1915 through 1922. Brief notes beside each. Observed near multiple incidents. Always arrives before containment. Silence follows. You flip to the next page. This one is handwritten. Rough, rushed like the earlier notes, but the voice feels colder now. Detached. The subject no longer identifies with a fixed form. The pact remains intact if one remains to witness. If the door is opened, memory resets. You feel your breath hitch. You flip again. Another note, no longer addressed to anyone, just written. They brought in the maid to reset the count. But silence broke too early. Now the memory repeats itself. Historical fact, Maria Baumgartner, the maid, started her first day at Hinterkaifeck on March 31st, 1922. She was murdered that same night. For years afterward, locals believed she'd replaced a string of maids who left suddenly, refusing to speak of why. You lift another stack of papers. Beneath it, a small recording device, no bigger than your palm. A wax cylinder recorder, still loaded. You hesitate, then press the tiny lever on its side. Clicks to life with a soft hiss. Then a voice. Distant. Male. Hard to place. They asked what lives between footsteps. Silence. I said it is not what lives. It is what remembers. The voice fades, replaced by a sound you can't place. Not wind, not breath, a low rhythmic scraping, like something being dragged in slow, endless circles. Then click. The device powers down. You sit back on your heels, heart slowing and speeding at the same time. Because something about that voice, you've heard it before, not in person, but in tone. The man at the mill? No. The letters? Maybe. But more than that, sounds like you. Fringe tidbit. One theory, never officially investigated, suggests the killer at Hinterkaifeck left notes for someone else to become him. That the person reading them would slowly inherit his perspective, his thoughts, even his voice. A haunting by way of suggestion. You stand. The papers still whisper against each other like they're finishing a conversation you weren't invited to. You shine your light on the walls again. Each symbol glows faintly, as if reacting to the warmth of your breath. Then, above the doorframe leading back up the stairs, a new mark. It's fresh. Vet. Carved. A small, perfect zero. Not a number. A symbol. A return. A loop. Historians still argue whether the events at Hinterkaifeck were the result of one person's madness, or a chain of inherited belief. Whether the killer was born of trauma, isolation, or something passed through paper, place, and time. You pocket one of the reports. You don't know why, just that it feels like something that belongs with you now. You climb the stairs slowly. At the top, you expect resistance. But the door opens easily. Too easily. Like it was waiting. You emerge into the cellar. Everything looks the same. You step into the kitchen. The lamp is cold. The chair's unmoved. No footprints but yours. You walk through the hall. Every door shut. Every mirror whole. You pass Victoria's room, no rumpled blankets. You step into the parlor. The desk drawer? Closed. You pull it open. No letters. No key. The photograph? Still there. Only this time no one is in it. Just the barn. Just the house. And a wide, empty sky. You turn it over. The words in pencil have changed.
War nie dort.
He was never there. You drop the photo. The air shifts. Somewhere in the house. A knock. Then silence. You don't move at first. The knock isn't loud. It doesn't demand your attention. It simply is the kind of sound that doesn't echo because it was never meant to. The kind of sound you'd swear came from inside the walls. You stand there, frozen in the parlor, as if the house is waiting to see what you'll do next. Then it knocks again. Same rhythm. 3 slow taps. 1 pause. Then 2 faster ones. You've heard that before. In the cellar. Behind the wall. You move slowly down the hall. Every board under your boots remembering your weight like it had missed you. You pause at the cellar door. Then pass it. Because you know now that knock? It didn't come from beneath. Came from within. You return to the kitchen. Everything looks undisturbed. Except the cupboard near the back door is open. Just slightly. You step closer and see something folded on the shelf inside. Cloth. You pull it out. A child's dress. Worn. Lace at the collar, hand-stitched. You recognize the pattern from the photo you dropped, before it went blank. This dress belonged to Casilia. Historical fact. The elder of Victoria's 2 children, 7-year-old Casilia, was found in the barn alongside her family. Her autopsy report mentioned she had torn out her own hair, likely from terror. Her dress was never found. You turn the garment in your hands. There's something in the pocket. You reach in. A marble, clear glass, etched with a tiny red spiral inside. Not a toy you'd expect in 1922. You squint. There's something inside the spiral. A symbol. You hold it to the light. It's the 0 again. You drop it without meaning to. It rolls across the floor and disappears beneath the table. You kneel, reach after it, and see something etched into the underside of the table. More words, carved in deep strokes. If you see it, you're already inside. Inside what? The house? The mystery? The loop? Fringe tidbit. Some researchers believe the Hinterkaifeck case wasn't just unsolved. It was designed to be a riddle without a solution, a ritual disguised as murder. The crime was never the point, one theorist wrote. The repetition was. You stand slowly, the dress still in your hand, and suddenly, the lights flicker. You know there shouldn't be any power, but the kitchen lamp glows once, feebly, just enough to throw a new shadow onto the wall. And behind you, another figure, taller, wrongly shaped, arms too long. You spin, no one there, but something smells different, burnt, like scorched paper. You run to the parlor. The photo, gone. The desk drawer, empty. The fireplace, now cold ash, and resting atop the soot, pair of boots, worn. Bit. You step closer and realize they aren't resting there. They're standing, upright, like someone just stepped out of them, or into them. You reach out and stop, because beside them, a new note, typed, still warm from the fire. You lift it carefully. If you read this, continue. If you stop, you stay. You fold it, pocket it, step back from the boots. Then you hear it. Soft humming. Not in the house. Through the house. Every wall is carrying it now. Low. Female. A lullaby with no melody. Just rhythm. You follow it up the stairs. Past the bedrooms. Into the attic. Again. The window is shut this time. The mirror shard? Gone. But someone has written in the dust on the floorboards. She never stopped singing. You kneel beside the writing and trace your finger through the letters. The wood creaks beneath your knee. A hidden hatch. You pry it open. Inside a box, sealed with wax, marked with the same triangle within a circle sigil you've seen before. You break the seal. Inside, a small notebook. You flip through. It's a journal. Victoria's. The entries are broken, fragmented, written in a rush. Some pages torn out. You skim. He's back again. I heard him in the barn. The children don't notice anymore. I tried to warn them. Then, scrawled at the very bottom of the last page. Silence is what you agree to. But I said yes too early. You close the book. Your hands are trembling. The attic shifts. The light darkens. Not because the sun is going down. Because something is standing in front of the window. You don't look. You don't need to. Because you know, whatever it is, it's been here longer than the house. Longer than the murders. It didn't start with them. It only used them. And you open the door. You don't turn around. You stay kneeling beside the open hatch, Victoria's journal still warm in your hands. Even though everything else around you has gone cold again. You feel the weight of the figure by the window. Not just physical, but heavy in your chest. As if your lungs are trying to hold their breath for you. The attic stretches a little wider. Not literally, but in feeling. Like the walls have leaned back to give this moment more room. You close the journal and whisper, "I'm not here for you." It doesn't respond, but the house does. A soft groan through the beams. A creak in the floorboards. You tuck the notebook into your coat, rise slowly, and walk past the window without looking. Back down the stairs. Back to the hall. Everything looks the same, but none of it feels the same. You pause at the cellar door again. Still open. Still waiting. You descend. Each step sounds thinner now, like the house is pulling back its voice. At the bottom, room zero's trapdoor is still sealed, the faint outline just visible in the dirt. You kneel and place your palm against it. Warm, but not inviting. You trace the edge one last time, then stand. And that's when you hear it. Not inside the walls this time. Not above you. Behind you. In the darkness beyond the oil lamp's reach. A voice. Not a whisper. Not quite, but quiet. Female. I didn't say yes for me. You freeze. Turn. No one. Just the cold. And the mirror on the wall beside the cellar stairs. Cracked now. You don't remember it being there before. You step closer. Your reflection is there. Mostly, but not fully. The eyes are yours, but not the posture. Not the hands. Not the tilt of the head that seems to mock you gently, as if you're the guest who's overstayed their welcome. Fringe tidbit. In 1986, a visitor to the abandoned farmhouse claimed she saw a reflection in a mirror that no longer existed. I thought it was just a trick of shadow, she wrote, until the figure moved and I hadn't. You back away from the mirror, and it's only then you notice. Someone's written on the wall above it in soot, or maybe just the shadow of soot. Last silence. Then it begins. You retreat from the cellar back to the main floor. You need fresh air. Need out. You reach the front door and find it gone. Not locked. Gone. Where the door had been is now smooth wood. Unbroken. Like it never opened. Like it was never meant to. You spin, scanning for another way out. But all the windows are wrong. Their panes dark. Their views not the outside. You step closer to the one in the kitchen. Instead of snow and forest, you see a field. Brown and dry. Littered with wooden crosses. No names. Just symbols. The same symbols from the notes. One per cross. Dozens. Maybe more. You blink. And the view is back. Snow again. Trees again. But not your reflection. Still not you. You walk to the kitchen table. Seat. You're tired. Not physically. Existentially. As if the air is heavy with the weight of too many stories told badly. And this one's beginning to fray at the edges. You pull out the last note, the one you found in the tin box beneath room 0. You unfold it. Words have appeared since you last looked. Same typeface. Same clip tone. You opened the final room. It opens you in return. You may leave when someone knocks. You laugh. Softly. Because there's no door anymore. No one can knock. You stand up. Walk to the hallway. All doors closed. All walls too quiet. And then, one door creaks open. Not because you touched it. Because it chose to. You step through. And find yourself, not in a room, but in a hallway that shouldn't exist. Longer than the house should allow. Lined with pictures. Old. Blurry. All of them photos of the Gruber house. But different. In each photo, the sky is darker. The windows more broken. The front door more gone. And in the last photo, the house is ash. Just a foundation. And standing in the middle, you, facing the camera. But your eyes are missing. Just darkness where your gaze should be. Historians still argue whether the house at Hinterkaifeck burned down by accident or by design. Some believe it was arson. Others say it was the land finally trying to forget. You touch the final photo. The frame crumbles. The hallway fades. And you're standing again in the parlor. Only now, there's a knock. From inside the wall. Just 3 taps. You stare at the wall, waiting. 3 taps. A pause. Then 2 more. The same rhythm from before. The same rhythm etched in the margins of the notes. The same rhythm your heartbeat now imitates without asking permission. You approach the wall slowly, 1 foot brushing against the floor like a whisper. You press your palm to the wood. It's warm, Not furnace warm, but living warm, like there's breath just beyond it, or a palm pressing back from the other side. You lean in and hear a voice, very faint, like someone speaking underwater. If you're listening, it remembers you. Your fingers tighten against the grain. This wall doesn't have a door, but you don't need one anymore. You step back and wait for whatever comes next. And it does. The wall ripples, not with light or sound, but intention, like it's no longer pretending to be solid. Then, with a soft click, a seam appears. A door.
Nonab.
Just a crease in the wood. You push it open. The room inside is narrow and silent, lit only by the faint glow of something pulsing in the far wall. A mirror. Another one. This one's not cracked, not dusty. Perfect. You step inside and close the door behind you. The click is too final, like it came with a choice you didn't remember making. You stand before the mirror. Your reflection stares back, calm,
Familiar.
but behind it, behind you, a figure. First it looks like you, then a not quite. The eyes are wrong, too still, too understanding. You watch your reflection lean forward without you moving and press its palm to the glass. The same symbol is now etched into the palm. A triangle inside a square, inside a circle, inside a zero. Everything you've seen, everything you've read, everything you've become. You reach for the glass, and your reflection smiles. Not kind, not cruel, just inevitable. You touch the mirror and feel nothing, because it isn't a mirror anymore. It's a window, and on the other side, a room that looks like yours, but newer, brighter, and empty, except for someone sitting at the table, reading. It's a stranger, or maybe it's you, just someone else opening the first letter, someone else hearing the first knock, someone else walking the floorboards and thinking they're in control. You step back, but the room doesn't move with you. Now it holds you, and you know, you've taken the place. You've become the one in the mirror. The next knock will be for you. Fringe tidbit. In some local ghost stories, it's said the house at Hinterkaifeck doesn't just haunt. It recruits. That those who learn too much become part of the silence, living behind the walls, waiting for someone else to arrive and ask too many questions. You look back through the glass. The stranger stands now, their hand brushing the wallpaper, their breath fogging the window, their reflection flickering slightly, and when they turn toward you, you knock 3 times, a pause, then 2 more, and wait, because that's what you do now. You wait for the next one to arrive, and now, slowly, the house goes quiet again. The floorboards exhale, the air stills, no more footsteps, no more knocks. Just that soft, weightless silence that comes when the story's done telling you, not the other way around. You step back from the mirror in your mind and feel the walls soften. The names fade. The faces blur, not erased, just resting. The snow outside has settled again, blanketing the forest in folds of quiet thought. It's that heavy, sleepy kind of snow, the kind that hushes the world into a lullaby whether it wants to sleep or not. You're safe now, at least for tonight. The house doesn't follow you home, not exactly, but maybe a corner of its memory slips into your pocket. Something folded, something warm, a hush, the thought, a rhythm that isn't yours but now lives somewhere in the quiet between dreams. And that's okay, because stories like this, they don't need an ending. They just need a listener. So close your eyes. Let the last echoes drift into static. Let the questions untie themselves gently, like thread unraveling from a long-forgotten coat. There'll be other doors, other rooms, but for now, you're exactly where you need to be. Still, quiet, safe. Good night.